ಪ್ಲೀಸ್. ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕೇಳಿರೋ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ಗಳದ್ದು ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಅದನ್ನೊಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿ ಮುಗಿಸೋಣ. ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಹೋದರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿದರೂ ಮುಗಿಯಲ್ಲ. ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ಟಚ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಇನ್ ಡೆಪ್ತ್ ಹೋದರೆ ಮುಗಿಯಲ್ಲ, ಮೇವರೆಗೆ ಅದೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಏನಾದರೂ ಮಾಡಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಮುಗಿಸೋಣ. ಓಕೆ, ಸ್ಪೀಡಾಗಿ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಏನು ಬರೀತೀರಾ? ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಜಿಯೋಗ್ರಫಿ ಅಂತಲೇ ಬರೀರಿ. ಫುಲ್ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ. ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಫಿನಿಶ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಫ್. Important topics of geography, because this is the last class. ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ ಮುಗ್ದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾಳೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಾಡೋಣ. Geography. What is the rainforest of ocean? What is the rainforest of ocean? We discussed about coral reef. ನೀವು ಇಬ್ಬರೇ ಇವತ್ತು ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಅಬ್ಸೆಂಟ್ ಜಿಯೋಗ್ರಫಿಗೆ. ನೀವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಓಕೆ. The thing in geography is like a maths. If you miss single class, you're not able to understand the rest of the classes because it is interconnected. So I expect you both to speak. We discussed about coral reef, right? Coral reef is the rainforest of ocean. Why? Because the polyps and zooxanthellae, it's a mutual relationship between the polyps and zooxanthellae, and these zooxanthellae, they are indulgent into photosynthesis, right? There is a photoplanktons and zooplanktons we discussed, you know. Phytoplankton, zooplankton, blue green algae. Ingidiya? Phytoplankton means that is the algae, that is fauna or flora, plant or animal. Phytoplankton, flora, yes, flora only. Zooplankton, the animal one which consume this phytoplanktons or the zooplankton, that is also microscopic animals, living organisms. That is an animal, right? See, these are the coral reef, and sometimes these coral reefs comes out of the ocean by building, and the shelf is, coral shelf is calcareous. We discussed it. Once it comes out of the ocean water, we call it as a coral island, right? This is all very important. And what is the favorable environment for the corals? What should be the temperature? While discussing oceanography, I talked about mangroves and the corals, right? Mangroves and corals, nectaral zone. What is the favorable environment for the corals to grow? What should be the temperature? What should be the sediment? Is sediment free or sediment with water? Sediment free water, right? Sediment free water, and temperature should not be a maximum. If it is maximum, it will become bleach. Coral bleach, we call it as coral bleach, because of the global warming. Ocean water temperature is rising, so that we are witnessing coral bleach nowadays. That and all we discussed in our last class, right? And what should be the temperature? Optimum temperature 27, 28, 29, right? ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. And the depth also, it is not grown in a continental slope, it grows in a continental shelf. What is the maximum depth of the continental shelf? Okay, the facts ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ ಇವತ್ತು. Okay, and did I give any different types of coral reefs? Take note, types of coral reefs or corals. Fringing, first one. Types of coral reefs. Okay, first one, fringing. Something fringing means what? Fringing. See, this, what is the synonym word for the fringing? Fringe. It's in, their shop is next to my house ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ fringe to my house ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Peripheral. Fringe means something peripheral. If the coral reef is peripheral or next to seashore, then we call that kind of coral reef as a fringing coral reef. Okay. If the coral reef is next to coast means bit away from the coastal region, at the bank of the sea, just at the bank of the sea, bit away from the ದಡದಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದೂರದಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಪೆರಿಫೆರಲ್ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಕೋಸ್ಟಿನ ಪೆರಿಫೆರಲ್ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಬೀಚ್ ಹತ್ರನೇ ಇದ್ರೆ, then we call it that kind of corals as a fringing. Next, barrier reef, second one. Barrier reef. Barrier reef. This is somewhat away from this fringing. Somewhat away from this fringing. This is a wide lagoon or away from the, somewhat away from the bank of the sea or somewhat away from the beaches. Third one is atoll. Atolls are something like coral islands. If it is island means what? It is entirely surrounded by water, means it is in the mid of the sea. It is in the mid of the sea. Okay, and that maximum to minimum fresh water, that is very important. Where maximum fresh water we get? Fresh water, see, out of all waters which is there on the earth, 97% are the saline waters, only 3% are the fresh waters. And that fresh waters, majority of the fresh water is stagnant at the glaciers, ice caps. After that, that maximum to minimum, that this one, very important series. What is the maximum? Where? Glaciers. Next. See, after lake, river. Okay, first lake, and before lake, groundwater. Okay, first thing is glaciers or ice caps. Okay, this is how. And what is the maximum depth of the continental shelf? What is continental shelf? See, this is the land. Okay, this is continental shelf. ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದವರಿಗೆ. See, this is ocean. Ocean start beach ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, this is the continental shelf. ಆಮೇಲೆ sudden slope ಇರುತ್ತೆ, that is continental slope. And what is the depth of, maximum depth of the continental shelf? 150 meter. Sometimes they may ask in state government exams. Maximum depth 150 meters only. If it is more than 150 meters means there is a start of continental slope. That means it started. Continental slope started. What is continental slope? That is the sudden fall. Right? We discussed everything in our oceanography chapter. See, my question is, what are the things, which factors which is responsible for the ocean salinity? Last class, ocean salinity. Ocean salinity ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ನೋಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ವರ್ಟಿಕಲ್, ಹಾರಿಜಾಂಟಲ್, ಅದು ಇದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸುಮಾರು. I want the factors which is responsible for salinity. We discussed so many factors, right? Continent ಇಂದ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದರಿಂದ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ocean evaporate ಆಗೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. And my question is wind having any effects on the salinity of the ocean? Wind has any influence on the salinity over the ocean? Yes, if the statement is like wind, yes, it is. Wind also influences the salinity. If the wind is more, blowing over the surface of the water means evaporation would be more. When evaporation would be more means concentration of the existing seawater going to increases. When concentration increases means salinity going to increase, right? Don't worry, ನಿಮಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಬ್ಸೆಂಟ್ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ನೋಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಷನೋಗ್ರಫಿ ಅಂತ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಇದೆ, ವಿ ಡಿಡ್ ಇಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ ದೆನ್ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. And what is the highest salinity latitude? Highest saline latitude. In a vertical section, I draw graph and everything like this. M Mata. 20 degree north, not on the equator. Maximum salinity. Why? What is the reason? On equator, what happens? Everyday rainfall. When everyday rainfall means fresh water enters into the open ocean. When fresh water enters, what happens to its salinity? Salinity going to decreases because it got diluted. When diluted, salinity decreases, right? But north side, there is less minimum rainfall precipitation compared to south. That's why north is more. 20 degree north is. After 20, 30, 40, what happens? Solar insolation is less, so evaporation is less. So concentration would be less. Concentration of salt within water would be less, right? 20 degree north, that is the tropical region. So more solar insolation, more evaporation, less precipitation comparatively. So more salinity, right? ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೀಗೆ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Okay, where is the maximum gravity over the earth? At the pole. Minimum gravity, equator. See, when if it took vertical section of the earth from surface to crust, from crust to core, salinity increases. The gravity increases or decreases? Increases. But when we enter the core, middle of the core, gravity suddenly stops. There is no gravity at the center of the earth, and maximum gravity just above the center of the earth. Okay, and less gravity at the crust. When we go deeper and deeper, gravity going to increases. Gravity of the earth. Okay, and what is the reason for the tides? Low tide, high tide, neap tide, spring tide. Like, this is the alignation of the three different, like alignation of the sun, moon and earth. Okay, gravitational force, and earth exhibits the different force against the gravitational force. What is that force? Centrifugal force, which is always against to the direction of the gravitational force, which is attracted. Actually, gravitational force, combined gravitational force of the moon and the sun, and centrifugal force is on the against direction, means opposite direction of the gravitational force of the moon. So that, like, ಹೀಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಈಚೆ low tide, ಈಚೆ high tide on full moon and new moon day, spring tide, ತುಂಬ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ? Okay. What is wave? What is wave? ನೋಡ್ಬೇಡಿ, ಹಾಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ. What is wave? What is there in that? Energy in motion. What wave? See, sea waves are the which kind of wave? Mechanical wave or electromagnetic? What is the difference between mechanical and electromagnetic waves? Mechanical waves needs medium to travel. Electromagnetic waves don't need any medium to travel. And what is the medium here? Water is the medium. So water wave is a mechanical wave, right? See, landforms are the two types. One is depositional and another one is erosional. ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ವಾ? Important geography points ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Landforms are the two types. Another one is depositional. Landforms are two types. One is depositional and another one is erosional. Two types. One is depositional, means and another one is erosional, means landform is formed because of the deposition, are called depositional landforms. Yavudalla? Erosional landform means that is destructive one. The existing landform which is destructed because of the erosions are called the erosional landforms. And what are the depositional landforms? Deltas, exactly. Deltas are the depositional landforms. Take subheading as a water erosion. Okay. How many kinds of water erosions are there? Take first one as a sheet erosion. First of all, what is erosion? Erosion means what? Something eroded. Eroded means something went away. Like ಸೌದ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. That is erosion. Water erosion, something eroded because of water are called water erosion. First one is sheet erosion. Like, what is sheet erosion? Sheet means something plain, right? The soil which is there at the plain, that weathered away, that went away because of the water flow. That is called sheet erosion. Sheet erosion. The removal of the soil in the plain in horizontal because of the water movement over that. That is sheet erosion. Another one is rill erosion. RILL. Rill erosion. See, like consider there is a waterfall here. Water ಬೀಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟರ್ ಬಿದ್ದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ವಾಟರ್ಫಾಲ್, circle going to form. There is a space, kind of circle, that is called rill erosion. Another one is gullies. If the circle increases its size to form like this, that is called gully erosion. Gullies erosion. ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರಲ್ಲ, gullies erosion. This is rill. This is gully. The soil is removed in a large amount, then we call it as a gully erosion. Small circle, rill erosion. Okay. If the small circle went like this, like a trench ತರ ಆದ್ರೆ valley erosion, kind of valley formation ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅದೇನಾದ್ರು ಈ ತರ ಆದ್ರೆ this is called gorge erosion. Gorges ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ, gorge erosion. If eroded to form entire river form ಆಗೋ ತರ ಇನ್ನೂ ವೈಡ್ ಆದ್ರೆ then we call it as a canyons erosion. Canyons. First rill going to form, after that gullies. Rill means small dot, gully means small circle. After that valley. If valley become widens, we call it as a gorge. If gorge become again widens to form canyons. Okay. Take wind erosion. Abrasion and corrosion. These are the kind of wind erosion. Okay. Abrasion and corrosion. Kelidra? Corrosion and abrasion. What is corrosion and abrasion? Ella kelidra? This is a kind of wind erosion. When the wind strikes to a rock, because of the force of the wind, the sediments from the rock which detached and that sediments fall. Till that process we call it as a abrasion. If the detached particle again moved out of that force, a wind force again ಅದು move ಆಗಲಿ start ಆದರೆ, then we call it as a corrosion. Okay, because of the wind pressure, the particle or the sediment from the rock, if it detaches, then we call it as a abrasion. And again, because of the continuous force of the wind, that detached particle again moved out of the surface, then we call it as a abrasion. And soil is formed because of the abrasion and corrosion also. These are the kind of wind weathering or wind erosions, and which is helpful for the soil formation also. See what happens when wind strikes to these rocks, small particle ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ, again ಅದು ಮೂವ್ ಆದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, the particle is going to increase or decrease, again it's going to increases ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಅಮಾಫಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನು ಪೌಡರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, because of the again scratches, because of again what we call frictions over the surface, right? The process in which when wind strikes on the surface of the rocks, the small particle will be removed, this particle eroded, this is known as abrasion. then removed particle will carried away or traveled to another places, then we call it as a corrosion. ಅದನ್ನು ಉಲ್ಟಾ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ, ನೀವು ರಾಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ. Then another kind of wind erosion is called attrition. This is 1, 2, attrition. What is this attrition? Sorry, T, attrition. ATTRITION. TION. See, this is actually kind of erosion between the two rocks, but this erosion started because of the wind. See, consider rock A, and there is a space, and again rock B, and there is a continuous wind pressure over rock B. Because of this wind pressure, this rock B start to scratch over the rock A. Because of this scratching, erosion takes place. So this is the rock and rock contact, and this contact is because of the wind pressure. This is called attrition. Erosion occurs between the two rocks actually. If erosion occurs here, then we call it as a abrasion, right? If erosion occurs here, then we call it as a abrasion. Because of this wind pressure, if erosion occurs between two rocks, we call it as a attrition. Alva? Are you connecting? Artha agtide alla? You are getting my point or not? Artha ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬರಿ. First, abrasion. Abrasion means if wind strike to a particular rock, because of that pressure of the wind, if some sediments from that rock, or if some piece of rock get detached from that rock, that detachment from the original parent rock is called abrasion. If the detached particle again moved out of that rock because of the continuous wind pressure, then we call it as a corrosion. Same thing. Okay. Take river as a heading. There are same river which went through 3 different phases of its life. Namdu higide alva, young, matured, older age anta human life alli ide alva. Same kind. River start adaga it is like in a younger stage. Adadmele matured stage, adadmele older stage hage hogutte. Okay. Take heading as a river and subheading as a young river. What are the characteristics of young rivers anta ನೋಡಿ. When river started, for few years we call it as a young rivers. And what are the characteristics of these young rivers? We will get to see some waterfalls and everything, right? Waterfalls. See, young means like not 10 years, 20 years. Young means thousands of years. If it is in a lakhs of years, that is matured. If it is in a crores of years, then we call it as a older one anta. Okay, young anta helidre 50 years young, ಆಮೇಲೆ old ಆ ಥರ ಏನಲ್ಲ. Okay, young rivers, waterfalls is the main characteristics of the young rivers. Waterfalls. If the river is matured, means there is no waterfall. Entire its flow. There is no waterfalls at all. So waterfalls where we witness waterfalls, that is the young rivers. Waterfalls idre adu yavadaದ್ರು way ಅಲ್ಲಿ until river stop ಆಗೋ ತನಕ start ಆದಲ್ಲಿಂದ if it witnesses any waterfalls in between its flow, then we consider that river as a young river. And down cut. See, there is a broad cut and down cut. What is broad cut? When the river flows, it starts to erode its side. Both alternative sides. ಈ ಪಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ಈಚೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಈಚೆ ಕೊರಿತಾ ಹೋದ್ರೆ we call it as a wide cut. If it start to dig like this, ಕೆಳಗಡೆ down depth ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋದಾಗ, river flow ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋದಾಗ depth ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹೋದ್ರೆ we call it as a down cut. If the down cut is happening, there is no wide cut. ಈ ಸೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸವಿತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ರಿವರ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸವಿತಾ ಇದೆ, ಸೈಡಿಗೆ ಸವಿತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. Down cut is there. Then we call it as a young river. See, this is another character of young river. ಸೈಡಿಗೆ ಏನು ಕೊರಿತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಕೆಳಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ. ಡೌನ್ ಕಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇರ್, ಡೌನ್ ಕಟ್. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಸೈಡ್ ಕಟ್ ಆರ್ alternate, peripheral cut ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. Down cut is there. Then we call it as a young river. That is also characteristics of young river. And V-shaped shallow, like ಹೀಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. If you look at the depth, ಹೀಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. This is the flow of the river. ಅದರ depth ಹೀಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, V-shape ಇರುತ್ತೆ. This is another characteristics of young river. And it meanders. What is meandering? It is like flow is like this. If it is meandering, river ಹೀಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ, that is young river ಅಂತ, meandering. And there is no flood plains, okay? Flood plains ಇಲ್ಲ, just ಪೈಪಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದಾಗ just ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Flood plains ಇಲ್ಲ. What is flood plains? Like Ganga river basin, entire plain is formed because of the river. We call it as a flood plain. There is no flood plain. So these are the characteristics of the young river. What are the characteristics? First of all, there should be waterfall, then down cut, then V shape, then meander, then there should not be a flood plain. These are the young rivers characteristics. In main salo kelbodu. Next, mature. Subheading, mature. In mature river, down cutting going to increases, the depth going to increases, and lateral erosion. See, this side erosion starts, lateral erosion starts. See, this erosion starts, but this down cut also going to increases in the mature one. And waterfalls are disappears. There is no waterfalls. Okay. Again, old stage. In old stage, there is no down cutting. Down cutting stops in a matured only. In old stage, there is no down cutting further. There is no down cutting further. And lateral erosion would be dominant. Side erosion agta hogutte, means river going to widen and widen. Lateral erosion would be dominant. What is lateral erosion? The side of the rivers, both the sides. There is no down cutting then. It is a lateral erosion. And floodplain formation is the major characteristics of the old river. Floodplains. Plain would be formed because of its flow, because of its sediments. And the meandering going to decreases. Instead of meandering, oxbow lakes going to form. You know what is oxbow lake? Where it going to deposits? Illi, then illi, then river start to flow like this instead of this. So entire this flow, the then flow of river becomes lake. Sediment going to deposits here and going to deposits here. So river start to flow like this, and this is a floodplain area. And again, because of this, the then meandering, separate lake going to form. This lake is called Oxbow Lake. Oxbow. Oxbow Lake. So this Oxbow Lake is a characteristics of which river? Old river. Idan kelidare tumba sarti. Oxbow Lake is a characteristics of old river. Take subheading is a potholes. Pothole. See, normally this is a kind of water erosion only, but I told you that Gill, that valley, George Canus, that is on a soil. If it is on a rock, like waterfalls is on a rock, and the gully formed on the rock, then we call it as a pothole. Like considering a hole, it is formed over the pot. Pot is rock only. Because of the continuous waterfall, the hole is created on the bare rock. Then we call it as a pothole. Water will fall on a very high force on a continuous direction. In a continuous direction. The hole would be formed on the bare rock. The hole would be formed on a bare rock. Then we call it as a pothole. If it falls on a bare soil, we call it as a rill or grill. What? Again, if the widen, we call it as a gorge. If then widens means canvas. If it is on a rock, we call it as a potholes. That's it. If the hole going to increases, then we call it as a plunge pools. Plunge pools. This is pothole. If this becomes like this, then we call it as a plunge pools. If the hole going to increase its size, then we call it as a plunge pools. See, there are two kinds of meanders. What is meander? This one is like snake movement. That is meander. There are two kinds of meander. Take heading. Meander as a subheading. There are two kinds. One is incised, INCISED. Incised meander. Another one is extrenched, EXTRENCHED meanders. ಇದನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಇಂಟ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸಿಡ್. ಅದು ಏನು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ meanders ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಆಯ್ತು ನಿಮಗೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಟೇಕ್ ಸಬ್ಹೆಡಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ರಿವರ್ ಟೆರೆಸ್. ರಿವರ್ RIVER, river terrace, TERRACE. TERRACE. See, because this is the flow of the river. Okay, because of continuous flow, if the base of the river looks like a terrace, terrace means these steps looks like a terrace, then we call it as a river terrace. The steps formed by river in a lateral side. This is a kind of erosion, right? See, otherwise ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಇದು ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಹೀಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. Because of the erosion, step formation ಅಂತ ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಎರೋಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Because of the continuous flow of the river. Normal agi ಏನು ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ sediments ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Sediments which detached from here and they are going to settle on a floodplain region. Then we call it as a alluvial plain or alluvial soil. Right? ALLUVIAL. We discussed a type of soil. Alluvial soil is one of the type of soil formed because of river sediments. And what is the sediments? These are the sediments which is detached from here and they go to settle on the alluvial plains. Take heading as a braided channel. BRAIDED. Braided channel. Braided channel. See, this is a channel of the river. Okay, this is a kind of channel of river. See, due to continuous deposition of river, the change in the course of river, due to continuous deposition, the change in the course of river in different channels are called braided channels. Like normally, if the river is flowing like this, and because of the continuous deposits over here, the river started to diversify its flow. One flow is like this, one flow is like this, one flow is like this, one flow is like this. So, because of the deposition activity, river going to change its course, like flow direction. Then we call it as a braided channel. These are the different kinds of channels. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is called braided channel. So, braided channel, ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್? Braided channel is erosional phenomena or deposited phenomena. It is a deposited phenomena, not erosional phenomena. Bird, food, delta. Deposition. Sleep. ಲೈಕ್ ನಾವು ಬರ್ಡ್ ವ್ಯೂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾನ, ಕೆಲವು ಡೆಲ್ಟಾಗಳು ಹೀಗೆ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಫುಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಚಾನಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರೀಚ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ರಿವರ್, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಎಸ್ ಎ ಬರ್ಡ್ ಫುಡ್ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ. ಸಿ ದಿಸ್ ಡೆಲ್ಟಾ ಇಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಸೆಡಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, that's why it's a deposition. These sediments going to deposit and they form delta. That's why bird food delta is a depositional activity. Braided channels are the depositional activity. So deposited erosional ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು ನಿಮಗೆ. Rills depositional eroded, and this one potholes and the plunge pools erosional activities, right? ಇದು ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. Take heading, subheading is a river capture. Subheading means different concept. ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲದನ್ನು ಸಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇರೋದನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗೋದು. ರಿವರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಚರ್, CAPTURE. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿವರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಚರ್? ಸಿ ವೆನ್ ಟೂ ರಿವರ್ಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಕನ್ವರ್ಜ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಲೈಕ್ ಎ single river. When two rivers converge and flow like a single river, we call it as a river capture. And this depositional or erosional. When two rivers are merging each other means because of the erosion of the layer, the land between the two rivers. The two rivers are merging because of the erosion of the land which is there in the middle of the two rivers, right? So it is a erosional activity. This is a erosional. River capturing is like a erosional activity, not depositional activity. Erosion means something eroded, means ಸೌದು ಹೋಗೋದು. ಡೆಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋದು. ಎರೋಷನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಸವಕಳಿ, ಡೆಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಏನಂತೀವಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ? ಯು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್ ರೈಟ್? ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್, ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಆಗೋದು. ಎರೋಷನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದೇ ಹೋಗೋದು. ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟೆಡ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋದು ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ದಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್. ಟೇಕ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಆಸ್ ಐ ಟಿ. Within groundwater also both erosional and depositional activities happens. Something crust means ground related, okay? So many times they asked crust topography ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. KARST karst topography. Nothing but groundwater, the place where the groundwater is there, that topography is called karst topography. Something karst means it is related to groundwater anta. Okay, like in some of the area groundwater nothing but the aquifers means we discussed it. Aqua means water. Aquifers means the water which is there in between the rocks, right? So groundwater means same thing, means the water which is there between the rocks. Sometimes these rocks are the limestone rocks, CaCO3, calcium carbonate. Sometimes CaCO3 plus H2O means water, groundwater. Then we call karst solution. Karst solution actually what it is, the groundwater which is situated at the limestone. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈಮ್ಸ್ಟೋನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಸ್ಟೋನ್ ಇದ್ರೆ, ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ರಾಕ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್. ಲೈಮ್ಸ್ಟೋನ್ ಹತ್ರ ಇರೋ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಕಾರ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಸ್ಟೋನ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಇಸ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್. If that rock, that stone would be, if that would be like calcium carbonate, then that kind of groundwater itself is a karst solution, right? Hage something karst means groundwater anta gottiri. What are the four Scandinavian countries? What is Scandinavian countries? ಅದನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ. ಪೋಲಾರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಿನೇವಿಯನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. That day I discussed it, right, while discussing pole. Scandinavian, SCA, ಅದು ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಿನೇವಿಯನ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸ್, ಸಿಂಧ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಅಂತಾನು ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಿನೇವಿಯನ್, SCANDINAVIAN, ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಿನೇವಿಯನ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸ್. ಸ್ವೀಡನ್, ಐಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್, ನಾಟ್ ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್, ಐಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ as a country. Norway, Denmark, the countries which are there in the pole, northern pole, are called Greenland. These are the countries are called Scandinavian countries. all northern European countries or the Scandinavian countries. Okay. You know this groundwater ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, I told you this groundwater depletion is one of the reason for the earthquake. While discussing earthquake, because the empty space going to create it when we extract, irrational extraction of the groundwater leads to creation of the empty spaces between the rocks, and that empty space was filled by the existing rock which is above ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, so that enormous amount of energy creates, so that earthquake happens ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್, ನಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಒಂದು ರಿವರ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಗಿ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದೇ ಥರ ಕೆಳಗೂ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿವರ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಅದು ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ there is a topography, that topography is called karst topography. There is a topography, okay, means ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೋ ಇದೆ, ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಇದೆ in between the rocks. Consider this as a rocks, in between ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೋ ಇದೆ, means ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಇದೆ ನೀರು ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಅದು ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲಿ, there is a space, and that topography is called karst topography. And there are different names for different kind of topography. Take heading as a stalagmite, stalagmite, STA, stalagmite. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಫೈನಲ್ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾಲಗ್ಮೈಟ್ ಇಸ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು ಅಷ್ಟೇ. See, I told you in karst topography means what? The topography which is related to groundwater. See, this is the groundwater flow, ಹೀಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, and here also rock, here also rock. And because of the continuous flow of the groundwater here, there is like depositional activity over here. Is it bottom or the roof? Roof. Something deposition at the roof is called stalagmite. At the roof of the karst topography, something deposition takes place at the roof of the karst topography, groundwater topography. Topography means it's a flow space of the groundwater. Something deposited at the roof, top, okay, not at the ground, are called stalagmite. Another thing, stalactite. The stalactite nothing but something deposition takes place at the floor here, ನೆಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಡೆಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. Sometimes what happens, this deposition going to increase and increases. Sometimes it reaches stalagmite. When stalagmite reaches stalactite, we call it as a, how it looks like pillar. We call it as a pillar. When stalagmite reaches stalactite, we call it as a pillar. Stalactite, okay, sorry, here, stalactite, T-I-T, stalactite, stalagmite, M-I-T. So, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಫೈನಲಿ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು, ದಿ ಸ್ಟಾಲಕ್ಟೈಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟಾಲಗ್ಮೈಟ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ karst topographic ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. And these pillars, stalagmite and stalactite are the depositional or erosional? Depositional, not erosional. When stalagmite joins stalactite, we call it as a pillar. Pillar also depositional. See, and another clue here is they give something about the karst topography, means relating to groundwater. The only stalagmite, stalactite and pillars, these are the three depositional activity of the karst topography or depositional activity of the groundwater. Rest anything, if they give about groundwater or karst topography, that is erosional only. The only stalagmite, stalactite and pillar are the depositional activity of the karst topography. Rest of the things are erosional. So ಅದನ್ನೇನು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಬೇಡ. ಇಷ್ಟು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇದಿಷ್ಟು 3 ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಡೆಪೋಸಿಷನಲ್, ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ erosional activity. Or heading kodtare, like it is a karst topography landforms, or it is a groundwater topography. And tell me what are all the depositional landforms and what are all the erosional landforms. Anta. These three are the depositional, rest of them are erosional. That's all. What is glaciary? What is glacier? Glacier. The ice pieces are the ice mountains. If that is ice mountain, ice pieces, that is ice only. Glacier means something which has to move. If the ice melts or if the ice, because of the gravity, it moves down from the top of the mountain, then we call it as a glacier, right? Discuss ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ with you. The ice should be in a movement. Then only we call it as a glacier, right? Something which is moving means there is a change in the morphology, right? Something ಮೂವ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದೇ ಡೆಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದೇ ಎರೋಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ? ಮೂವ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸ್ಟಾಗ್ನೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲದೂ ನಿಂತಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಎರೋಷನ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. Wind deposition is because of the wind movement. Water erosion is because of the water movement, right? Or wind erosion is because of the wind movement. Like that, glaciary, the meaning itself is the movement of the ice. So there must be a erosional activity. There must be a deposition activity within glaciary also, right? Take heading as a glacier. Flow down due to the gravity acts on the surface due to friction. What is glacier? Already definition lo kottideni, right? And what is the reason for its movement? Nothing but a gravity. ಮೇಲಿಂದ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬರೋದಷ್ಟೇ. Take cirque as a heading. Within glaciary, cirque. It's a kind of activity happens. CIRQUE. CIRQUE. See, consider this as a glacial mountain, okay? And the ice which is there here is eroded because of the continuous movement of the ice. Means the land which is more, there here. This is the mountain, and there are glacial deposits here. And glacier means which is the movement of the ice. Because of the continuous movement of the ice, the surface over the mountain going to erode. This erosion is called cirque. So cirque is a glacial erosional activity. Okay. See, when this depth going to increases, because this surface is eroded and depth going to increase because of the precipitation. If water collects over this circle, this itself acts as a lake. It is called glaciary lake or cirque lake. Glacious lake or cirque lake. So this is the mountain, and because of the continuous, this is the glaciers which is over there. Because of the continuous gravity, the glaciers which is collected there is going to come here downward, and after so many years it looks like a sharp edge. There is no glacial deposits here because of gravity. Everything went away. Then this edge is called horn. So horn is also kind of glacial erosional activity. Horn is at the top, right? If the erosion happened at the mid of the mountain of the glacier, we call it as a cirque. And water which collects at the depression of the cirque, we call it as a cirque lake. The same erosion happened at the top of the mountain, we call it as a horn, because it looks like a horn. ಎಲ್ಲ ಎರೋಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೀಗೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಈಚೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಲ್ಕ್ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ಈ ಬಲ್ಕ್ ಹೋಗಿದೆ, ಈ ಬಲ್ಕ್ ಹೋಗಿದೆ, ಸೊ ಶಾರ್ಪ್ ಎಡ್ಜ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಎಸ್ ಎ ಹಾರ್ನ್. See, because of continuous erosion, if the horn also went away, it looks like this. Like ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಹಾರ್ನ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಈಗ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಅರಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ARETES, ಅರಿಟ್ಸ್. Aretes is nothing but the erosion in both the sides, only small amount is remaining, small amount of the mountain is remaining, then we call it as a aretes. See, the sediments which eroded from here is going to collect here, right, at the bottom of the mountain. Is this erosional or here it is erosional activity? This collection of the mountain sediments here, erosional or depositional? Depositional. That deposition are called moraines. Moraines. So moraines is a glacial depositional activity. Cirque is a glacial erosional activity. What is moraines? Same thing, which weathered out here and going to collect here. It's like a sea rise, alva. What is continental rise? It's a kind of continental rise, right? What is continental rise? What is continental rise? See, this is continental shelf, okay, this is land, continental shelf and continental slope suddenly, and after continental slope there is a slight rise because of this sediment going to deposit here. This is called continental rise. Right, same thing alva. That the sediments which is weathered out here going to collect here. This is erosional activity called cirque. This is depositional activity, both in the glacier only. This is called moraines. Okay. Take subheading is the drum lines. DRUM, drum, LINES, drum lines. See, this is drum line is a depositional activity of the water. Depositional activity of the water, okay. See, the sediment going to deposits, this is flow of the river, and sediment going to deposits, and in the initial stage the deposition mount size is bigger, and when we move away size going to decreases. So how it looks like? It looks like a egg basket, right? ನೀವು ಎಗ್ ಬಾಸ್ಕೆಟ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ತರ ಎಗ್ ಹೀಗೆ ಜೋಡಿಸಿರ್ತಾರೆ. So that's why we call it as a egg basket deposition. This is formed because of water, okay? Egg basket deposition. So is drum line is a not erosional activity. This is a depositional activity of the water. Egg basket deposition ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. Egg basket deposition. So this drum line or egg basket, these are the depositional activity, not erosional activities. And this is deposition activity of water. And what is squash and back squash? While doing oceanography, I talked about this. Squash and back squash. Squash and back squash. When the sea wave reaches the shore, we call it as a squash. From the seashore it went against to the sea. We call it as a back squash. When this river wave enters seashore, it not only enters, it also erodes the rocks which is there at the seashore. That kind of erosion is called squash erosion. Squash erosion is formed because of the river water, so it's a water erosion, and that is a erosion. The squash is erosion, not deposition. ಸಮುದ್ರದ ಅಲೆಯಿಂದ ಸಮುದ್ರ ತೀರದಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಬಂಡೆ ಕೊರೆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಸ್ಕ್ವಾಶ್ ಎರೋಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೇವೆ. And this squash is sometimes, if there is a rock that erodes the rock, if there is no rock, just a plain means sometimes it deposits the sediment which is there in the ocean, right? That kind of characteristics of that wave is called squash deposition. So squash is not only erosion, squash is deposition also, depending on the place where it is. If it is next to the rock, it acts as a erosional. If it is next to the plain, it acts like a depositional. So squash is not just a depositional or not just a erosional. It has both the characteristics of the erosional and depositional. Then what is back squash? Same thing. The wave which is going away from the shore of the sea, it is called back squash. Back squash ಆಗುವಾಗ erosion ಆಗುತ್ತಾ deposition ಆಗುತ್ತಾ? What happens? Erosion. That's also depending. Both squash and back squash having both the qualities of erosion and deposition depending on where it is. Depending on where it is. Like how you will say erosion. See that lagoon in a first class we discussed it, right? Not in a first class, in a middle class. Lagoon, barriers, like split bars, barriers. What is lagoon? This is the seashore. But the lake which is formed next to seashore because of depositional activity. Right? This depositional activity is because of back squash also. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. Right? So it is both having depositional and erosional activities, both squash and deposition, and squash and back squash. Erosional so many times, like ನೀವು ಸಮುದ್ರ ತೀರ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸತಿ ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲವು ಸತಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಸ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ವೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವಾಶ್, ನೀರು ಬಂದಿರೋದು ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ದಂಡೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎರೋಡೆಡ್, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವಾಶ್. ಸೊ ಸ್ಕ್ವಾಶ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವಾಶ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಬೋತ್ depositional and erosional. Sometimes the rock which is there here is got eroded because of its water movement like this. ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ರಾಕ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಹೀಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ವಾಟರ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರೋ